All right, I think we're probably live now. I think we're live. Did something change in Twitch? The layout. It looks a little different to me. It looks like I am not seeing the... not seeing bitrate in here. Alright. So I'm just going to upload this raw as normal. It's just going to be uploaded into YouTube after this. So apologies if you're watching this VOD or YouTube. As I've mentioned in the past, always just skip ahead. Always skip ahead if you're watching the VOD. Because there's a, it takes time to get warmed up. So if you're not new, you realize that. If you are new, well, now you know. Demon Injected. Hello. Whenever possible, I'd like to start having the chat on screen. So let me screw around with that in this view real quick and see what's up. Cathadian. Radagar. Hello. Let me see if I can get some chat box love going. Is that even in this scene? I might have. I think I don't even have that in this scene. Keith G. Howdy. SC Spider. Tell me all about your name. What's your name about? So I know how to either give you a nickname or abbreviate it or whatever. How's everybody going? How's everybody going? I think is what I was about to say. How's everybody doing? Hey, Nicodemus. Nicodemus, you're the Nicodemus from Discord, right? With all the wonderful art? Bannaback. The music may have overridden that a little bit. 1 year? What is what you said? And yes. Thank you for sticking around for 12 months. That's pretty badass. Keith, you're new here, but you're aggressive in your support. Thank you for the sub. Yeah, Nicodemus, if you folks have not checked out the stuff that Nicodemus has posted in Discord, in our M&M Discord, which you can find here in the community channel. Some really good stuff. I love it. It's got, we were talking about it the other day, community content channel. And if you scroll up there, the illustrations are fantastic. We were talking about the fact that they give us like that old school Errol Otis, early D&D work kind of vibe. I really, really like it a lot. Definitely appreciate it. I think it's super cool that you're sharing it with us. So yeah, it's been a little while since I streamed. Sorry about that. What was it? Week before last, I think. Yeah. Week before last, I took off to Stockholm for the weekend. Had a great time, which didn't interrupt streaming, right? I don't think so. Did I not stream the Thursday before? Either way, Stockholm for the weekend, came back, and then just a bunch of stuff came up. And yeah, I went there for my birthday. Jasmine took me on a nice little trip. So got back and we had a bunch of stuff going on last week. And so I just wound up not streaming. I think that timeline makes sense, right? It's the 29th now. Yeah, so weekend before last was birthday. All right, it just seems like it's been longer. So I duped out, before we get started, I guess I can show you what I'm doing here. And then as team members come on, maybe they can help me un-F my mess. So basically I've taken, oh, I broke something interesting. This is an interesting broke on my end. I may just dump these changes then and start over and then see how I broke it. Let me go to another zone and see if it's broken as well. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, Nicodemus, I like it a lot. Yeah, it's so interesting. Looks like I broke some materials or something earlier. So with that in mind, it's probably, rather than back things out, it's probably going to be easier for me to just fix this, figure out what the hell I did and then fix it. So, and I mean, worst case, I can just revert everything. The work that I've started, it's not been that big a deal. Because I literally, all I did was, well, I did a few things, but all of my work's disposable. I'm not a real artist. I'm assuming most of the people that are in here at the moment are part of our usual crew. I'm assuming there's not a lot of new people. If you're absolutely new here and you don't know what the hell we're doing, feel free to ask and I'll start babbling it up. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just keep talking as I try to diagnose what it is that I broke. Regis, I'm doing alright. How are you doing? How's everybody's weekend and week and all that stuff? Good? Pretty new, but you mostly got caught up? Right on, Keith. Nicodemus, thank you for the generosity. Giving out 5 gift subs. Radigar, Nijikan, Tony USP, Middle-Aged Metal Feminist, and Jolly Ruthless. Congratulations, Middle-Aged Metal Feminist. I'm trying to picture you. You sound like people I've probably had beers with in Hamburg, Germany. People whose buttons I like to push when drinking, just to see how they respond. So, let me see what I broke, because I did broke some stuff. Alright, so it's some shader shit. I think this will be interesting. Let me see what's changed in GitHub, actually. So my machine locked up earlier, and I just had to hard reset it, and then I came back to Pepto-Bismol land. So let me relaunch GitHub. And try to figure out what it is that that I broke here. So basically, I'm gonna go back in. I think I may just shut Unity. Yeah. Don't save. You can look at my desktop, I think. Yeah, that's a good desktop. Ooh. I need to go through the images that Goblin has uploaded. And see if there's some new stuff in here. Maybe I could change my desktop out. Dreg, howdy. Let me start reverting files that have the word shader in them. How am I liking Elden Ring? I haven't gotten a chance to play as much of it. I should probably back off the mic. Hopefully I wasn't crackling and popping. I haven't had a chance to play a ton of it. I came back last week and there's just a lot of work-related stuff and family stuff that I needed to get into. I did sneak in and play my druid on P99 for a few more levels. She's still only level 17. But I with Elden Ring, I really want to have nothing else in the background, uninterrupted. No podcasts, no audiobook, or any of the other shit that I tend to do anytime I'm able to. So I haven't gotten in to play, but I definitely want to set some time aside. The last thing I was playing wasn't Elden Ring. I was playing some Core Keeper. Core Keeper's really good too. If you get on Steam, it was only like $11. It's a little indie game. It's kind of like Terraria meets... I mean, these things kind of overlap, so it's like that Stardew Valley, Terraria, Minecraft kind of vibe. Definitely was enjoying that as well. If you want a relaxing game, let me... I don't I want to make sure I'm not showing anything critical in GitHub, so I'm not showing you exactly what I'm doing. I don't think I can show anything bad, but just in case. I don't want to be the guy that's like leaked our depot or something. So discard change. Discard change. Everything that's material, I'm just discarding changes. Yeah, you're loving it as well. Cool. I mean, for me, I'm not in a rush, and I've yet to, even if I'm watching somebody like Asmongold or something, I haven't really seen spoilers. I've heard people's philosophy on the game and all of that stuff, but I haven't seen any real spoilers, and I haven't looked anything up and all that, so I'm still fully capable of playing the game in the wrong way and enjoying myself. So maybe I'll set aside some time tomorrow when I'm not cleaning. Jasmine's got the day off, so maybe I can sneak in a little time and play. Ooh, all sorts of plugins need to be reverted. Man, let me see. Can I revert all of this? I don't want to revert the scene that I made. Or any of that stuff, which is down there. Oh my god, look at all this light map shit. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be checking that in, but I probably am. Oh, alright. So, sorry that you're not looking at anything interesting at the moment. I just logged into Unity and was like, oh. Did I miss more? Okay. Total of 7 sub gifts. Alright. I was like, did I miss something with regards to hype train? Should I be pushing the hype train button? There you go. Wouldn't want to get reported to HR for leaking things on stream. Oh, it'd be worse than that. I would fail my team. I'd be a disappointment. Don't need HR when you got that kind of pressure. Crabman! Finally home in time to watch the stream today? Well, that is nice. Unfortunately, you're just watching a blank screen while I try to discard a bunch of changes to see if I can fix what it is that I did here. So, discard. Hey, Maze. Discard. That one too. And you. And also you. And I don't even know why that changed. And some more shit. And yep, discarding that. Alright, so this is stuff that looks familiar. 4 billion light map additions. These other things that I'm like, why does that ever, like, it always shows that it changed and I never changed it. Where's Ollie when I need him to reassure me that I didn't break things? Okay, let's try this again. Let's load Unity and see if it looks just as janky. Just put the mandrakes on screen. That's why we're all here anyway. Oh, fair point. I need to have an emergency mandrake button. If I was Zukin, I'd have that ready to go already. You'd be able to fire it off. Nicodemus said, I'm finding out playing Elden Ring with a friend is incredibly fun. Even with the invasion mechanic is great. My daughter in Florida and I are having a blast. Oh, that's super cool. So, you're playing remotely though, right? She's not in the same house, or? Alright, let's see. Okay, this looks much less broken. Hooray! So let me go to the other zone. So some background on what I'm doing. Essentially, early in the process, I came in as sort of back when we were like a 4-person team, in the first year, when it was just, we were kind of 4 people with, you know, a person here and there on and off coming in and helping on some things and such. We didn't have any artists on the team. I mean, other than Ollie. I would count Ollie as an artist. He's pretty creative and adept. And so we just started with a very sort of like, it was just a square and blender placeholder zone. And then that grew over time and then got sculpted and played with and all this stuff by yours truly. And then since then we've actually gotten artists on the team. And so we're taking this old Shaded Dunes, which had Night Harbor blocked out in a very blocky, sort of stubbed in kind of way. And we're converting it now into the real Night Harbor city with all the districts and snazzy structures and actual scaling and all of that. And it's got a bigger newbie yard. So what we're eventually going to do is we're going to take this Night Harbor here, and we're gonna basically chop Night Harbor as you see it here on the right. We're gonna chop that off, and I'll probably save a copy somewhere just for posterity's sake, just so I can remember the old times when we cobbled this together. But anyways, we're gonna chop this off, and then basically starting here, we're gonna move that to the other side of the zone line for the newbie yard. So look at all of this here. Then we're gonna go in here. I'll show you the other zone. Let's go to scenes. Man, it expanded everything. That's not exactly what I want in life. So we're in Shaded Dunes here. What we're going to do is then go into our actual Night Harbor. And let's see if it's broken. Hey, Hamad. No biggie. So essentially, we'll take that Shaded Dunes and we'll put it on the kind of other side over here and extend everything out. And then we'll start to merge. Well, we'll merge this into Shaded Dunes in a way where you can kind of see the facade. And a lot of this is still even blocked in a placeholder, right? Then you'll be able to see the facade there in the background, skyline, and Shaded Dunes. And in Night Harbor, you'll be able to look out at Shaded Dunes, sort of vice versa, right? So now that we get the real zone lines in and we start to get a little bit more of the scale. What I did earlier today, because I've worked in Blender, but I really have not worked in Pro Builder here in Unity. But Pro Builder is nice and blocky and clunky and primitive enough that it gives us these shapes that we like, right? So it's allowing us to do, you know, fairly simple geo that looks like how we want things to look, right? And I say that fairly simple, blah, 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 blocky. But if you look here at what Pattis has put in, Harrison, if you look at these guys, I mean, they look like the concept, right? They nail the concept. When he first put them in, they're a bit rounder, like they're smooth, cylindrical. So we talked about that a little bit and down-res them a bit to give them more of that blocky old school shape. So we're always going to work with the old school shape in mind. I mean, hell, this walkway, you know, those of you that have played some certain games from the early 2000s, you've probably seen a ramp up in a structure before, right? Got like some Cabalist vibes. So basically for the last many months, I've just been caught up with other stuff, working on stuff offline, working on lore, which we're not really going to go through in heavy detail here. That's for you to discover. And so I've been spending a lot of time just showing off Harrison's work and Connor's work and Goblin's work, Alex, and, you know, like all this other work, and then playing the content that Nick's been putting in like the dungeons that we've got and all this stuff. And so I want to get back into doing some hands-on stuff to help supplement Harrison a bit. And so, hey Bilbo, you and Ramps go way back. Right on. That ramp doesn't look anything like a ramp in a windmill in Steampond Mountains. And if it did, it's just a coincidence. So anyway, as Goblin's continuing to concept, Pattis/Harrison is continuing to build. And vice versa, as Harrison is blocking stuff out, Goblin is concepting, like painting over it. And so we're getting, you know, some nice back and forth there. Will there be any broken terrain seams to fall through? Absolutely, because that gets us back to what I'm doing, which is I'm back to doing environment work to help, you know, sort of supplement things. So a couple of things that we're going to be doing in the coming weeks is I'm going to help you know, start to populate with structures and block out this area here, which is Riverbend. It's an actual adventure zone within the city. One of the things that if you look at a place like Freeport or whatever, you know, in EQ, there's so many areas where it's like, man, it would have been cool to actually have content in there and encounters and stuff. And so we really want our cities to be playable cities, and we're going to be, you know, iterating on that and seeing how we can get it to go. So let's see. What I did earlier was I took this then, right? And then I duped it out and made this zone, which now you start to see an extension. So essentially, I've started working on this zone beyond this newbie yard here. And so it was just a few minutes work. But again, I'm trying to start to get familiar with the tool, which if we look here, you can see it over on this side. It's kind of, it's obscured a little bit by your names and stuff. So where's the GM room going to go? Rodzak asked. It's funny, I was just asking Harrison about this. So one of the things that I have a question for Ollie, and maybe I should just put it in Slack and see, is now that I've duplicated this zone, right? So I've duplicated Night Harbor to be Night Harbor Fields. And really the zone that I'm focused on now, of all of this stuff, this area is the zone that, you know, this is the actual zone. Everything else is extraneous. Now, need to get a feel for how big. We've got some ideas for the points of interest and sort of the themes and stuff in this zone. And we know what this next zone is. And essentially, Hamad and I were talking earlier. Hey, speak of the devil. Hey, Pattis.
Hey guys.
So I was just catching folks up on, you know, what I've been thinking about doing and what we're kicking off now. And so essentially this is the zone that I'll be working in, but I'm keeping, you know, a certain amount of this just so we have that for like background, a facade. And the goal is, and I might do it tonight depending on who's on and who can help me fix things or whatever. But the goal is basically to take our entire point, proof of concept region and get all the remaining zones done, right? And so I'll tell you the zones by name real quick, right? So essentially we've got Night Harbor here. Adjective beaver. So I was worried about mispronouncing the word adjective because I always screw it up. And instead I screwed up the word beaver. Oh man. Pro streamer. I'm a pro communicator. Twilight Isles, hopefully there is island hopping. So yeah, essentially we want to have a nice little opportunity to go out to a, you know, a zone that's, they're actually not in here. If I go over to Shaded Dunes, you can see them again. So this is the thing, as we're pulling everything together, we'll have to make sure that we're, it's loading or it's crashing. Like if you're in here, right, you can see those islands in the background. And so we'll replace that eventually. And they don't have to be these islands. Yeah, don't worry about nuking anything, Harrison, it happens. Matter of fact, these aren't even islands. Like if we go to Twilight Isle, and again, this whole thing needs to, this is all just block out and placeholder, but I did get fancy one day when I was in here. And you can see the materials are all screwed up and shit. But I did do this. I was like, oh, what if we had an island out here, kind of that Ocean of Tears vibe where you can take the boat out and around and you can hop off and find some stuff. But what if in like a dormant volcano? And you can see the scale because these are the same things that we have on the docks in Night Harbor. There's like a bay and then you go in and then it's indoors and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we got some stuff going on. Since last time I was on, you guys probably haven't seen it. No, Actually, you probably have. I showed the tomb before I left on break. So let's see. Let me go to it. So new dungeon. We got a new dungeon in here. And then let me get back to work. So Night Harbor Fields. Cool. Yeah, so now that I've fixed what I broke, basically in this zone we'll come in and we'll nuke a lot of this stuff, I guess. But the question I had for Ollie was all of this ramble was triggered by a question about Cat Room. Is when we make a new zone like this, do we then take and basically select everything and move it to the 0, well, I guess it would be this zone. Do we move it to the 0, 0 coordinates? But I guess we can do that later. We can figure that out. I'll have to ask Ollie in Slack. Is there a high level world map yet, like an EQ Cloth map? There is an old iteration of one, yes. But much like this region, as we start to dig into and clean up the lore, we'll likely be changing it here and there and definitely adding more to it. But what we are doing right now, and I started this little bit of a ramble earlier and didn't finish it, is what I want to do is go in for the proof of concept zones that we have and get essentially a scene set up for every one of them. So now this scene is Night Harbor Fields over here. So then we should be able to get it set up so that we can zone in. Then we would zone into the next zone, which this doesn't, it's not actually representative, but let's put on our imagination hats. Or as Grant Morrison once said in a meeting that I was in with him and Jeff Johns and Jim Lee and a bunch of other cool people at Comic-Con, because we were working on the DCO game and I want to do a little humble brag or whatever, but it was actually really interesting to hear him talk. Grant Morrison was like, he was talking about putting on his imagination suit, and the dude definitely has a lot of imagination. So anyways, let me do a quick placeholder so you'll get an idea. For the proof of concept, we'll have the fields, which will probably change the name of that, but that's just the placeholder name I picked today. And then from here, we will have the glass flats, which then we will, I'll just visualize them for you real quick. And we'll do this. We'll do, no, that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted, oh, we'll do this. So we'll just kind of do it like this. And these are not to scale, okay guys? Don't get crazy. Then we'll do a Control D, we'll do this little thingy here. We'll go here. We'll do this, and so we'll imagine a big zone. It's gonna be real big though. And the Ham and I were talking about some interesting gameplay for how this zone works, and you know, some of the, yeah, anyways, we'll get into it later. We'll definitely be talking about it more. But needless to say, it won't be an easy zone to get through. And then let's see, we'll grab, so we've got the glass flats here. We've got a Dragon Run here. We've got the Whispering Dunes up here. Then what, we've already got a zone, Control D, and then we'll come over here, and then we'll do this, and we'll bring this down. Oh, we'll bring this down here. I may have to set my clip plane out a little bit more. So we've already got a big desert zone that's about to get bigger, that we had been calling the, oh, Harrison, I filled Harrison in on the ideas for that zone yesterday. He liked it too, which is a good sign. So we have what was originally Death Valley, but now Death Valley, it's the name of this whole region in the fiction. And instead, what this will be is the Vale of Zentar, if I'm remembering the lore correctly. Pretty sure that's correct. And I stumble with the names sometimes just because my brain's still fixated on the old names and stuff. So anyways, let's just imagine Death Valley here. Alright, and it connects to Shaded Dunes. We've got the Fallen Pass, which you may have seen before. That's essentially mountain pass that takes you up to the Fallen Watch, which is that castle that's up above, you know, overlooking Shaded Dunes. And then, let's see, we've got one more zone here, which is the hills that are sort of everywhere when you're like over here and you're seeing all these hills and blah blah blah. That's what this will be windy, labyrinthine in some areas, sort of set of hills. And then we'll have a mountain that is a point of interest that we've got to talk about a little bit more detail about how we actually want to execute on that. But Ham, I want to talk about a little sort of Mount Doom Zelda vibes. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Did I miss anything? We got these guys. We got this comes through here. We got this comes across here. This is going to be bigger. This will probably be bigger. This may not be as big. So we'll move the proportions. But essentially, this will be the zone flow for proof of concept with a couple. We've got a few dungeons and then we've got the ability like to take a boat up here and up the river. So really wanted to have river boats, and we'll have a boat that goes along because this is the western shoreline. We're facing north right now. And then the western shoreline, this will take you up to the various elven civilizations and some cool shit like that. You will be able to traverse on land as well. You know, if you've got pack animals or mounts, or maybe we've got a little caravan going, until you get here. And so when you get here, you're gonna need a guide across this desert. This desert's a very magical desert. The Whispering Dunes are magically imbued, and so you'll need the assistance of this group who they make their living taking travelers safely across this desert. And so in a sense it'll be kind of like a ferry, like a ferry system, but with NPCs. So that's basically what we're doing right now, in terms of as I start to copy out these scenes. So let me just leave here without saving. But yeah, I think I covered all the notes. I've been updating our document, the POC layout presentation doc. I started updating that. Ham and Pattis, and I can't remember if Zukin's in here or anybody else. So anyways, that's where we're at. You actually like the Permalost Dune idea? Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. Okay. I thought you were here, Zukin. Cool. In the end product, will there be loading zones games have gotten away from, but more nostalgic of old school MMO? Yeah, we'll have loading screens, and you know, even if we need to slow it down for a second just so you see it, because things load pretty fast. We've already got loading in game, and so we're definitely going to keep it and maybe stylize it a bit, but it's for that reason. We want zone lines. We like the gameplay associated with zone lines. We like the feel of zones, like being zones, distinct sort of load in. To me, it's always psychologically meant like when I load into a zone, I'm in a new space. And so maybe some of the rules are different, or I'm assuming the NPC population is different. I make certain assumptions when I zone into something. So, and then on the flip side, I think this was discussed in Discord recently. Again, if you're not in our Discord, you should join. But I like that idea of like trains to zone lines and that sense of like, oh, I just got to tag base so I don't die. Wondering how you'll keep zone line train details consistent after changes are made between scenes. Seems like a pain in the butt. It's mainly just going to be a pain in the butt. We were talking about that. I was talking about that with Pattis, and it was like, what we'll have to do is basically we're going to block some things out and then just leave them blocked out and stubby. And then wait until we get to a point, and maybe we'll do it more than once, but like if we get to the point where the skylines really kind of come together, or where we really like where we're at with certain stuff, but we're over here in Shaded Dunes. I could have sworn Zukin and Pattis let me know. Could have sworn that that Pattis was just saying that we can basically go into the scene A, select and copy all of the stuff that we want to copy over, paste it into scene B, and just kind of do it that way. But one of the things to keep in mind is when we're looking from here, say we're on the other side of the zone line, or better yet, this was fun. I was showing the team this earlier. Like in theory, we could even be across multiple zone lines. Assuming there's not elevation changes or anything blocking LOS or whatever. So if you've got line of sight, in theory, we could see, you know, the city in the background. But ever since I was on EQ, I really like the idea of leaning into the approach, or leaning into the constraints. What I would do is I would take this, and instead of this being geo in the background, right, because this is still just that geo of the city, for a zone that's maybe 2 zones away. And so one of the things that, you know, spoiler alert, one of the things that we'll have is there will be this floating, you'll encounter these floating citadels in our world, a few of them. And so if the floating citadel is visible, and maybe it's over Vale of Zentar instead of, you know, the mountains or whatever, or say this big mountain. So if Mount Takir is pretty big and got an interesting, which it should, right, like a recognizable profile, and then we've got the city here, what I would say that we do is we, instead of keeping this geo, we basically bake it out into an image, you know, and I'm not saying anything new here. You guys have seen this in other games. And maybe paint it, maybe illuminate it in a certain way, hype it up in something. Like, let's lean into it. Like, let's make it look kind of cool. Do some interesting, you know, lighting in a distance or whatever it is. And then have it, you know, but have it so that it remains consistent enough when you get closer. So, but I really like this idea. For me, naturally, every zone's not going to be this way. Could you load it with a super low LOD? Sure. The lowest LOD would be like a quad or a plane, right? So it would just be a painting, but then we could have just like something that's... My concern would be is if the LOD kind of dumbs it down and makes it look not as cool as we could do with maybe... And it could be a hybrid. It could be a quad or, you know, a plane that's got features painted, and then geo, if for whatever reason we feel like the dynamic lighting or something works better, you know, even at a distance. Like if I was in here right now with our day-night cycle going, then, you know, we may see that, oh, actually it benefits from just being geo. But either way, what we'll do is we'll always de-res so that it's, you know, it's efficient, but then it's still iconic. So if this is desert, having heat shimmers during most of the days would be rad. Absolutely. And dust storms and big sandstorms we'll be doing as well. So, yeah, but to me, it's just the idea of being in here, being in game, and having these opportunities. And we're going to have plenty of zones with low visibility, and it give you, you know, that G-Fay kind of, I can't see shit look, or, you know what I mean? Like, but this idea of being in game and just always having that city, like, you know, having these opportunities where the game feels big, right? And you're just moving along, even if you're on your mount. Just like, man, I can't wait to reach this. So, let's see. Hold on one second. I missed something. Nicodemus said you could grant players invulnerability as they enter a zone and wait for input for the player after zone loading event to take off the invulnerability. Just thinking of someone zoning into a train to the exit. We'll have to see. I like the old school, especially with loading times being so fast. It removes some of the danger, but there's that idea of like poking your head in, oh shit, and having to jump back out. Justin Beard said, hey Shawn, thanks for doing these streams. Do you guys have plans for macros? I'm going blind and try to think of ways to play. I tell you what, you'd have to follow up with us on that and kind of see what we intend to support versus what your needs are. But I'm really interested to hear more. So, I mean, as far as I know, we're intending to support, you know, sort of the old school traditional simple macros. But I'm curious what the sort of specifics you're looking for are there. So, but yeah, so the thing that I'm doing now, I'm waiting for the music to kick on, and I thought I had it on looping. Oh, it's going to do that thing where it's like, are you still watching? Thanks, YouTube. Okay. Yeah, Drew. That's the feel that I was thinking. So maybe something that can give you some verbal feedback in game. Well, we've talked about like Gina and things like that in the past. And I know when it first came up, I think Nick brought it up, and I was like, I want everything to be as in-game as possible. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, yeah, something like Gina, I don't think there's any harm in it. So, because I've even used it for like when I didn't want to pay attention to whether or not invisibility to undead was falling off or something. Because there wasn't a lot of feedback. And I think the in-game feedback was a bit weak as well. So it was like, that's the biggest challenge, Keith. Accessibility tools that are either potentially exploited or change the nature of the way the game's played. Those are both things that are a concern. So Harrison, you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to leave this zone. I'm not going to save any changes. I'm going to come back to the zone. And then we'll see if I can do this a little bit more officially. Whatever locked me up when I was talking to you before, Harrison, I came back and everything is broken. Basically, I had to go into GitHub and revert a bunch of shader changes that I didn't make and blah 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 to get things working again. So I just reverted everything. For now, I'm trying to think of the best way to approach getting this scene kind of at the starting point, right? Like, Harrison, what do you think is the easiest way to align these edges here? Just to, oh, you know what I didn't do? You got all those instructions that you gave me with regards to how you set things up in terms of snapping. Look at my setup and see how do you use, because basically as long as I'm consistent with you, I'm happy. You're welcome, Justin. Looks good to you? Okay. I think the increments are so small that I don't notice it snapping though, right? So then my question is... Oh, wait. I do, huh? Alright, that's why. And I'm assuming we don't have to be perfect at the moment. Like, we're, So, Justin, and I don't... Let me know, I don't want to, you know, cross any lines or anything like that, but since you brought it up, it was interesting. I'd seen some commentary on... I think it was like the Microsoft... Last year it was like a Microsoft thing that was going on, some big Microsoft thing. And the people that were like presenting they would read out details about themselves and stuff, and I was like, what is this about, right? Like, I thought it was maybe just, you know, I don't know, I don't want to offend anybody, but essentially the easiest way to explain it is like, maybe they're virtue signaling for some reason or whatever, but they're like, I am a 6 foot tall man with tattoos, blah, 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 right? And I was like, and then I saw somebody who had, I guess, made some comments about it, but then in commenting about it, somebody in his comments had basically explained, like, no, actually, that's for people that are using Braille keyboards. And so as they're reading it out, like, and I'd never seen, like, this Braille keyboard before where someone... Like, basically, they had their fingers on it. And so as they're reading out the description, it was doing text or voice to text and then translating it to Braille. And, like, watching the whole process, like, that whole flow of communication, I was like, holy shit, that's actually... It makes a lot of sense, right? So, yeah, it's a very interesting moment. And I just thought of that because you said you're looking into a keyboard at the moment that may be able to give feedback and solve some of the problems without negatively affecting the game. It's interesting because if there's hardware that can help as well, provide that feedback in that way, I think that's pretty rad. But it's a fair point. And the discussions in chat, I haven't been reading out all of it, I admit, but there's some good discussions in chat with regards to just the responsibility of the game. The game's feedback, right? Like, the job we should be doing in developing the game to provide adequate feedback. And you're very welcome. And I appreciate you asking the question of us. So, it's not going to be perfect, Pattis, but I want to at least get it in the ballpark. Getting closer here, guys. And then we can adjust stuff. If you want to move the pivot closer to the edge, you can. I didn't even consider that. How do I move the pivot? So working in Pro Builder is completely new to me. So this is going to be, I'm going to relearn what little bit I learned in Blender now to try to be of assistance. Let's see how these guys line up. Are they lining up? Then, I guess, kinda. Go to vertex mode. Select a vertex you want and then click set pivot. Okay. Alright, so go to vertex mode. So I select the vertex here. And then you said, not center pivot, set pivot. Let me find that trigger, set pivot. And then go back to object mode. Oh, wait. Then that didn't work. I did not do it right. I mean, I can grab. object selection mode, vertex selection mode, and it updates on the right. Just above grid settings. Nah. And unfortunately, you can't draw my screen when we're doing it this way. Left more, left more, left more. Honestly, don't know. It's kind of clipped off the screen. You're seeing everything I'm seeing. There's toggle tool handle position. Okay, I think I got it. Oh, for you guys, it is. Yep. I got it. I found it. Dargoth, it's so much easier when we're doing Slack Hangouts, and I forgot that I've got some of this stuff clipped from back when I was showing the database. So I can probably fix this screen a little bit since I'm no longer worried about you guys seeing the wrong stuff. Here, let me fix this while I'm at it. Can I fix it? I'll just go full screen here and here and there and there. You can see everything. Pretty much. Cool. Dargoth said, definitely interested to see what the M&M team might try when it comes to more complicated encounters. Me too. That reminds me of something similar with Eyesight. Belfaster said there was some experimental tech where they could basically hook an implant up to an optical nerve and give the person a very rudimentary sense of a version of a screen. I think the resolution was something akin to football stadium scoreboard with the big light bulbs that create moving pictures. But if you think about it, the step in a series of steps to create higher resolution than perfectly healthy eyes. Yeah, we've got an interesting future ahead of us if we can get that far. Justin said, I forgot to ask if I'm, for example, a cleric. Can I cast a buff to someone not in my party? That was my lifeblood and EQ. Yeah, being able to buff people outside of your group, definitely. We're fans of that type of behavior. Very social, it's very fun. I mean, I'm so happy now with my little druid to be able to, you know, she can give people Spirit of Wolf now, and it's so nice to be able to do that. So absolutely. And the cleric that I played on Eridune, that was my first time playing a cleric, and man, I gotta tell you, like, I really enjoyed being able to buff people and, you know, toss an out of group heal and all of that. It's very much in keeping with the spirit of the game. Okay, so let me see what this does here. All right, so I think it's... Oh, no, I'm better off with it being lower than high, and then I'll just fix the other edge. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Let's see. Feels very gamey when combat is locked and buffs and stuff are locked to just your party. Yeah, we're trying to avoid gamey whenever possible, so I'm curious. Will these then fix themselves, or will it be lower? And if it's lower, all right, so Harrison, it feels like, should I just put a new plane down? It feels like the plane's just not in alignment. What's the easiest way to do it so that I'm not always just like a half a step off? Or is it because I was moving this around without snap? Should I move it around without snap and then turn that back on? What do you think? Or I can just snap the verts together? Oh, you know what? But they're not even... I'm not even using the same grid size and stuff. I really enjoyed the cleric. Well, all this is placeholder. I basically just wanted to get the scenes up and running. Well, this is no longer snapping. Oh, wait. I just want to get the scenes. But I also know if there's this blatant of a gap, then it's gonna, Nick's gonna see it and he's gonna log it as a bug. Which I want to save him that trouble. So, but if we can at least get this kind of started, then, and we've got to discuss like what this newbie yard's actually going to look like and whether or not there's a wall here and all sorts of other shit. So basically I just wanted to get a zone in and then run through the process of making sure that everything's sort of built out properly and that we get all the data on the server and etc. Yeah, so not to call you out, Ham, but I put this in here and Ham had mentioned he wasn't as keen on it, but I just like the idea of there being a there being something that kind of demarcated the newbie yard, but also I thought it might work since this is like farmland and you know, different amounts of like farmland, and then there will be a quarry over here that's or somewhere along this zone wall, depending on how we feel about the scale of the zone. I think the zone can probably stand to be a bit bigger. And let's see, where was I going with that? So anyways, this idea of sort of breaking off the newbie yard or demarcating the newbie yard from the other zone with a wall, and then having this, I was thinking maybe having this up here be maybe nicer groves, something like that. We need to talk about the lore a little bit since we're just now adding this in. I know that part's a little bit loose, but then here what I want to do is and I was talking to Ham about this earlier, is since this is elevated, I want to basically with this zone bring it down a bit closer to the river so that we can do, let's see, if we look here, I was drawing some inspiration from like Iraqi farms and like date groves and stuff like that. So kind of giving it this vibe, so it still feels like it makes sense that there's desert around, but then there's this nice bit of green that kind of pops out of here. Right, so it's just like green edge, right? And naturally, I mean, we're not trying to simulate real life here, so it's fine if we're not 1000% accurate, but just wanted to get a little bit of this vibe going. That makes sense? So with that in mind, was thinking that we'd bring this down closer to the water line, and then as we get moved towards the glass flats, what we'd wind up doing is bringing it back up so that this feels like it's kind of like a wash. Like the river's washed over this in the past, and that's, you know, part of why it's fertile. And then as we get into the glass flats, Ham has described them as being in a basin, essentially. And then it connects over here to Dragon Run. So yeah. Let me play around with that a little bit, since I'm just kind of screwing around and getting the hang of this tool anyway. So we'll go into faces, I guess. There's not like an easy paint option, right? Like I can't just paint the faces that I want to select. The paint select? I thought I heard you say that at one point. Instead it's just like a kind of a lasso. Alright. What we'll do is, I think actually when you don't look at it head on, it makes it easier to do what I'm trying to do. So we'll deselect. And then I'll just go, because then we get some diagonals in here. Do that and that. That and that and that. Oops, that is not what we wanted to do. We'll keep going there. I will say, moving around in Unity instead of Blender is definitely a fair bit easier. Not super intuitive moving around. In Blender, once you've gotten used to an engine like this. Alright, so something like this, and then we just pull that down. Is deselect. Let's see. Shift subtract, that'll work too. Is Night Harbor the only major player starting city planned for proof of concept? Yes, but it's a very cosmopolitan city. So as far as starting, you know, as far as cities go, it's not a bad one on that front. Is this actually, this may be a weird way to do it. Should I be essentially sculpting instead? Harrison? Because you know me, I'm a weirdo. I'll come in here later when you guys aren't watching over coffee or whatever. And I will basically come in here and select every single... I'll go in vert by vert and start to hand smooth it out. If you watch me work on Shaded Dunes, then you know that I'm not making that up when I say that I'll do that. You know what? And this, I don't know that this is the best way to do it either, because then what I may do is, and again, for now, let's just consider this me getting some reps in on the tool for those of you watching. I think you're just here to listen to Robert's music and hear the soothing sounds of my voice while I do pretty much anything, and then chat with each other, right? That's pretty much what you're here for, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm taking my time. But and I'm not going to get overly invested in this. I forgot the whole idea was just get some placeholder shit in here. But you know me, once I get going, I start thinking I'm creative or some shit. And but anyways, what I may do is kind of see if we can, if I can kind of recreate a little bit of the goodness that you've got in terms of these elevation changes as well. But hand curated environment is more labor intensive but worth the time. Bethesda learned that lesson with Daggerfall. I'm just a big fan of, like, and I've said it mostly, nah, not really. I don't know that I'm joking, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm a big fan of that idea of, like, place every rock, place every bush, place every tree, tweak every vert, right? But it's easy to say if I'm the one doing it. I don't want to drive, you know, Pat is crazy or anybody else, but I just think I don't know, it looks better if it doesn't look like it was just generated by an algorithm. For the time being, at least, algorithms don't have souls. Regis said, now I'm confused. Are you a programmer or an archive? I've never seen you coding, I don't think. No, I'm not. I'm definitely not a programmer. My brain is not good with that type of logic. I started as I thought I was going to be an environment artist when I got to Variant back in the day. When I first went out to work on EQ, I thought I was going to be an environment artist because I'd done some modding. I even modded like I'd even done like this mod that was meant to be this like morgue under Freeport, with like I had, you know, their textures and stuff that were unpacked. So it was like some of the white tiles and floors and stuff, I did them all blood streaked and everything else. So I thought I was going to be an environment artist when I got there, and they didn't need any more environment artists, but I found a designer that I could help, and I just wanted to get on the team no matter what. So yeah, basically I became a game designer, and I've never really considered being a game designer aside from the little bit I went to college, I was an English major, and had an English scholarship, oddly enough. But I'm not a big fan of sitting in class, so that didn't work out. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I could write quests and shit. And then I got shown the tools, and that was like one of the easiest ways for me to get on the team. So that's what I did. Became a game designer in theory, made some encounters, learned some things, and had some thoughts about game design, and did that for 11 years, and then became a producer for job security. Let's see. Keith said, I thought the interview about not having duplication tools in EQ led to more interesting layouts. Yeah, well, you started to feel a little bit more when it became easier to copy paste later on. At least that's the story. Shit, man, this is so elevated that even with that pulled down a bit, it's still a good ways off of the water. So I guess that is kind of what it is. But again, it's all placeholder. We'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be on the water exactly. So if I've selected this face, can I duplicate this face and then just run it? Oop. And then what do I need to do for the face is basically just subdivide it. Like if I just wanted to screw around and run a face all the way down here, what workflow do you recommend? Like just... Whoa, what's going on with this face? So just pull it and then grab this big ass face and subdivide it. How would you do it? The cool thing is Pattis is an actual instructor for this. So that's what Pattis does for a living, is teaches people how to do things like this. So we're very fortunate. Easiest way would just be to extrude the edge. Okay, that makes sense too. Alright. Well, in this situation, this way can work too. You just have to worry more about seams. I think that's a very fair point. So, selecting edge here. So go to edge mode. I'll go here. Can I go all the way to the end? Is there a... Like, I think in Blender, it's basically if I were to shift click or control click. So if I've got like this edge here. And then I come here. No. This is one of the more annoying parts of Pro Builder. So we got select edge ring, select edge loop. You need to click select edge loop, I think, because it's an edge. Alright. Hey, Sikash. Let's see. The edge on the border are kind of janky to select. Alright. I mean, you know, if you guys have the patience for it, like I said before, I'm the type of person that I'll click every edge if I need to. Now, just as a test case, what I'll do then is go, all right, so we've got this, extrude edges. You manually select stuff like that on your stream. It's interesting. I don't know that I've noticed, but I also don't know if you've selected like a million things or if it's been a little bit more conservative. Cool. So Fertile Nile-like farmlands would be great for nomadic mandrake tribesmen to raid. Oh, I mean, that's an idea. Yeah, like that just suggests doing the entire edge so the cliff is connected as one piece. Yep, I agree. This was meant to just be an experiment and I promptly forgot that fact. It's interesting. It's interesting that you can't just easily select these guys. Doom, doom, doom. Selecting edges. Doom, da, doom, doom, doom. What's really annoying is this gizmo being in the way. We'll go over here and so I should be doing it right to left. So we'll start over here again. We'll just keep clicking. Again, if this is just placeholder, I don't know how much this matters, but why not? We're in here. Oh yeah, Pattis, you mentioned there's something that I should do when I set up the scene. I'll pop over to that right after I extrude this. We'll see. What's interesting is screwing around in Unity does have the potential to like lock up my machine. Because I've only got like 16 gigs of memory or something. Does have the potential to lock up the machine, which would kill the stream. So we're living on the edge, folks. It's funny, I opened a Red Bull while I was cooking dinner, just so I'd have energy for this first stream back after a while. And Jasmine hates the smell of Red Bull so much. I had most of it, like about half or whatever is left. So I put it in the fridge, and she opened the fridge, and was like, "Oh my god, it stinks so bad." Yeah, it's just funny. She hates Red Bull so much. To me, Red Bull, it smells like game development. All right, so extrude. Where's my extrude? It's down here. Extrude. Is there a floor under this river? There is. Well, there is all the way up until where I added this stuff. So that's probably something that needs to get done as well. Should probably finish making the floor. All right, so there's that. You can hold shift and move the edge to extrude it without clicking the tool in the Pro Builder window. Okay, so basically once I've got the edge selected, like if I come here and then, oh, that's fancy. Nice. That's not too bad. I just shifted my keyboard language into Swedish, but that's nice. These Pattis Pro tips or tooltips are awesome. This is how I learned Blender. I learned Blender in like I mean, as much as I know, I'm not like a Blender expert, but I was able to start getting around and building stuff like within weeks, just because everybody in chat was like telling me how to use Blender. It was very helpful. So if we go back here and I look at this, we've got this. Set pivot. Go to here. Nice. And then we'll bring this here. It'll overlap a little bit, which will probably cause something to implode or somebody's brain to melt or whatever. But why don't you line up? This is the whole point of me working on a grid. You sons of bitches. So you did find the keyboard that is called TextSpeak. Interesting. Okay. If you're offering to clean up my garbage, then bless your heart. It's really weird that they don't have a We don't have the ability to just, I mean, that seems like pretty straightforward function. To do a little quick mass select. You need to click the little arrow under the on-off switch to get it to snap to grid. Oh my god, did I turn it off again? How did I turn it off? We got this. Snaps all objects to grid. So you usually set your grid to a smaller number like 0.25, then select all the faces and verts and then click the arrow. So I did this, did that. Snaps all selected objects to grid. Oh, I see what just happened. Interesting. So is that not Unity's terrain object? It's something from ProBuilder? Correct. Yeah, so with the terrain, like let me hit save here, see if everything freezes up and breaks and explodes. I guess you'll let me know if I go off the air. So when we look at I mean, we can use this as an example since everything's been converted. When we were in Blender before, instead of having things have like the rounded shapes and feel pretty contoured, which I assumed was the only type of terrain that Unity can make, we went into Blender instead and basically just, like for me, I just went in vert by vert and started shaping the terrain. So I'd maybe do like a little bit of sculpting because in Blender you've got sort of the brush select, so I could just hit C and then select all of this stuff, select all these verts, and then I could pull them up and down and kind of get like a rough shape that I liked. And then I would go in and basically from that point forward, I would look at it and even go in game. And if we started to see like this transition was too steep and it didn't feel nice, I went in and basically took every single vert and just shaped it a bit, especially in critical areas like elevation changes and stuff. So, you know, and it's a nice thing to do when you're watching a podcast or whatever. So I was spending a lot more hours in Editor or in Blender back then getting that stuff set up. But to me, it felt like having that control to really shape shape the shape, control the shape, define the shape feels important because I just don't want, I don't want the game to look generated. Yeah, it's super relaxing, honestly. So, and this will be something that we look at even as we're working on the mountains and everything else. Don't want the game to feel, and when I say modern, a lot of times, what I mean is, I don't want the game to feel generated. I don't want the game to feel like I just took a brush and, I just randomized a displacement map and okay, now that's your outdoors. I just went in with a simple tool and just kind of like, oh, I shaped a mountain and shaped them. Like I want them to, I want it to feel like polys. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want it to feel like a sculpted terrain. I want it to feel like a collection of vertices that we looked at and went, you know what? I like where all these verts are, and things should have a shape, right? And I'm not trying to pick on it, Harrison, but like when I look at the hills and stuff, I want to make sure that when we look at these, that the shape feels like it was a very intentional shape and we didn't necessarily randomize. And I say that knowing that when I built when I built cliff pieces or whatever as blockers, they weren't Oh, these are still the old throwaway ones? Good. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it would be nice to come in and go. That's what I was about to say. I just made some random shit because I didn't know what I was doing. But the more that we look at these, the more it should feel like there's like a defined shape to it. Right? Like, in I'd rather it feel like a simple, sort of a symbol. I think there should be like a simplicity to the shape. So like if we look at this, and I'm just going to screw around with this a little bit, but if we look at this, the noise should feel purposeful and the shapes should be more simplified. So like, you know, getting it so that it looks more like. Now we can have layers of those, but so, you know, it's that kind of thing. Now, when I made like mountains and stuff in the past, and I don't know if these are the original ones that I made or whatever. I was just trying to whip together something as quickly as possible, and it didn't. You know, I didn't have that much thought put into it. But when I'm thinking about like how we should do it, the other ones are modeled based off the texture, and they look better for it, right? I was describing. I was talking to. When I was, yep, I'm still watching. When I was talking to Pam earlier today, and we were talking a little bit about what the hills zone should look like. I was like, so it's not sort of a perfect description, one for one or whatever, but when I look at these, if I squint my eyes a little bit and think about sort of expanding the sand out and making some nice passages through and elevation changes and stuff, I think where Harrison landed in doing these feels a lot better than like what I was doing in Fallen Pass. So definitely want to go more that approach. All right, so we've got this area. I'm going to go ahead and probably just block this out a little bit more, and then we'll start to see what we think is enough for a zone. I guess these guys could probably come in a bit as well. Give it a little bit more width in this way. This as well. We're gonna have this quarry sort of POI here. Probably. Again, I'm just blocking stuff out. It's all very, very likely to change in terms of the actual art. Oops, not like that. Like this. Make room for orcs. There'll be goblins being creepers over in this area. Some wild goblins, wild goblin tribes. As we make our way around here. Monty, it's funny you said that modern terrain looks like mashed potatoes. That just made me think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You're working in a test area for something and you're not using any sort of training tool stuff, just modeling the whole environment. Feels a lot better, huh? Did they ruin their own lands and now they're ruining yours? That actually sounds like it might be a little bit more appropriate for the Ashira. Have you seen the Ashira? Do we have that concept up yet? I think we've shown it. It's the Jackal Wares. Don't know if you've seen their level design, but oh my lord, it's good. Elden Ring, yeah. I'm very into what I've seen so far in Elden Ring. I love the giant ruins pieces and stuff that are sticking up there. So let me hit save again. Or actually let me 50. Just let me continue to block this out a little bit. we'll do that for now. We'll kind of see where this gets us. All right, so I'll hit save. The shear is on the Trello. Cool, let me look. Do. Open image in a new tab. And what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll cut it like to about here. So yeah. The Ashira probably make a little bit more sense for what you just said. Any plans for a cave along that wall? Belfaster, I think when we start digging into the quarry, pun intended, then we'll know a little bit more about that. We're gonna get into some of the more low-level details in the not-too-distant future. Ham and I will dig through that a little bit. Monty said, I would wager that they built that similarly to your approach here. They've been refining their level design for a long time in workflow. You can tell then they designed it very intentionally, not just some noise and procedural generation. Their old, Ali has shown me a lot of their old levels from some of the other Souls games without the textures, and you just see them, the simplicity of the shapes and the design. It's beautiful. It's very inspiring. Very old school. So all right, so we've got this. I've hit save. There's something that I'm supposed to do here, but Zukin, I don't know if you know. Pattis was telling me about it. Oh, there is Pattis. It's not navigation. What is the thing I'm supposed to do here? And I'm wondering, do you think it'll kill my machine? They go to the A star. That's right, it was pathing related. I'm a big dummy. And then we went here and it wasn't settings, was it? It was actually load and save. And then it was generate cache. So Bilbo, the challenge that we have is finding the balance between sort of realistic without going too thin and too detailed on something like a weapon, while keeping it so that we can keep it clunky enough that it feels old school, right? So it'll be us trying to do like an old school version of realistic. That makes sense. So generate cache. Do you think this will kill my machine? Is it intensive? Yep, you need to duplicate or create a new one and make sure it is assigned in the option box. All right, that's right, that's right. So that was that thing that I needed to do. All right, so if I go to Night Harbor, go here, and then I'll duplicate it. And then we'll call it Night Harbor Fields. We'll click off it. Then we'll go back to here. Then we'll go, so we're at A star, then we go into save and load, then we go to here, then we go to there. Cool. Got to send Ollie some stuff on a weapon test you did. I did a test to see how quickly I could take a weapon from concept art to usable asset. Relies heavily on hand-drawn concept first and turns it into old school looking weapon kind of. That would be very cool to see. All right, so generate cash. Fingers crossed that the machine does not lock up and the stream is not over. If the stream goes down, I'll be back in probably like 5 minutes. Probably. You don't have to feel obligated to stay and watch. You could talk to each other, I guess. Generate cash. Do you want to scan the graphs before saving the cache? If the graphs have not been scanned, then the cache may not contain no data. And then the graphs will have been scanned, will have to be scanned at startup anyways. May want to remove the Night Harbor Geo from the scan. Okay, let's do that. I'm comfortable doing that now. Let's do that. And there's probably some volumes that I can get rid of as well, right? Like these water volumes over here. I need to add a volume here, so maybe I'll move it around. Will jumping intentionally not feel satisfying or cost stamina to avoid players moving around like in WoW or Sea of Thieves? Realized the other day that this is something I have strong feelings about. I like Riley Van Helsing. But I like being able to hop in games. We'll have to see whether or not it's it uses how much stamina it uses. So, all right, all this geo is hidden. I think the only reason why I didn't think about deleting it before was like this low level stuff. One, it feels weird to delete this stuff, but two, I was curious if any of these structures would be helpful to sort of put over there for scale later on. Jumping is a form of communication. This is true. So for example, I moved these buildings over here just to kind of see what it would look like, you know, is there a farmhouse or something? And then I grabbed your palm tree and I doubled its size because I was thinking, oh, like maybe if we want to do groves. I actually looked at pictures of date trees in Iraq to sort of see how big is a date tree. Because I wanted them to feel bigger than what we've had so far. So, need to get some better, more production-ready trees. Okay, I won't spend too much time with the trees then, since they're all going to be replaced. Riley, thank you. There's a bunch of stuff. Crap, if you haven't been here in a few months, there's so much stuff. What I would recommend is if you haven't checked out the newsletters, be sure to check out our updates. If you're not a part of our mailing list yet, we're at like, I think we're just hitting 1,200 people on the mailing list. We'll have an update coming out probably this week, if I do my job correctly tomorrow. And if you look at the updates, you can see a ton of stuff that we've been adding that you just, you know, I don't have time tonight to run through it, but I tend to run through stuff on streams when I'm not doing other things. We also have a YouTube channel up now. Be sure to subscribe. I think we're Loving Robots at like 1,600, which means we should have a lot more over here. I think we're at 426 on our YouTube. You guys subscribe. What we do then is we'll upload streams. So. Please save quit. Thank you. Yeah, the team's kicking ass. No Mercy tends to mention you sometimes, saw you streaming, so feel free to check it out. Well, next time you talk to No Mercy, I'd say don't just thank him for me. Apologize for me not being around for a while. I have been horrible at getting in and seeing other people's streams, especially with the time zone difference. Last I looked, California was playing something else, not EQ. Anyway, I think I'm still subscribed actually. So, thank you for me, and I need to get in there and watch. Same thing with Larry. I haven't watched Larry's stream in forever, and I don't know if my morning routine changed or what's going on. Now I feel really bad. I gotta get in and watch some other streams. It's just been so crazy lately. Shards of Dahlia, unique private server, EQ, and Gloomhaven is what he usually does, yeah. Yeah, so I think it was Gloomhaven. Last time I popped in for a minute, and I might have just lurked. Sometimes I'll pop in and lurk because I don't want to interrupt people or whatever. And I know a lot of people are amped on the project and stuff, so there's a tendency to be like, oh, and talk about the project and stuff, and I don't want to disrupt somebody else's stream. I feel bad about that. But I do want to get No Mercy and Larry and all sorts of people in. It'd be great to get them in and have a chance to check out what we're doing later on this year. That's a fair point, Riley. Alright, so... Oh, Pattis isn't here anymore. I was going to mention a thing that I noticed and was telling Hamad about. With us starting to build out in this direction as well, it's interesting because the profile of the city, we've only been looking at like the skyline from sort of the, what is this, west to east. And, you know, so we're building up the skyline with this view in mind, right? And the various structures. But then when we come over here, the skyline, it's, you know, it's kind of, it's missing something here. But then if I look at something like this, this wizard tower, which currently just is a bit of a penis, which is fine. You know, sometimes buildings look like penises. That's how the universe works. What I would say is then we could look, it's like, all right, so do we actually move the wizard tower back a bit, which doesn't change anything in the other view, but then gives us something here. Right, and then we build up a little bit here as well. And then I think the lighthouse could benefit from being a little bit more prominent as well on both sides. So, just some thoughts, and as we do this stuff, those thoughts will emerge. Let me go back to cleaning stuff up. Hey, Jasmine. Just posted a little Imager album with breakdown of what the screenshots I had left from the weapon test. Nice. Is that in my Discord or in the M&M Discord? Cool. That is this one. If it doesn't resemble a penis, it resembles the end of a wizard's staff. The fact that a wizard's staff looks like a penis is coincidental. It's true. I mean, why would a wizard need to carry around a penis just to... I mean, they're a wizard. It's not like a wizard would feel inadequate and need to wave around a giant phallus.
Right on.
Hey, San. Thank you for 14 months. How are you doing? I am just deleting shit. That was a little too much. I got a little too crazy. Great to see you as well, man. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Or thank you again for the birthday wishes. I got too crazy again. So I'm just going to delete all this stuff since we don't need it. Thank you for the reminder, Harrison. Don't need that. Honestly, I don't think we need most of this, but I don't know what all the terrain is connected to. I click this. What happens? Yeah. That's too much. That's too much. Don't need these guys. Because essentially everything over here is just the only thing you can see is the sort of the skyline here. Everything else is unnecessary. So we'll do it like this. It was funny. I was talking to, I think I was talking to Harrison the other day, and I grabbed like this guild hall, and because we're thinking about like how big are these other districts of the city, like, and it's interesting if you take the guild hall and you move it into this district, because in theory this area here is going to have like a university, a library, wizard tower up here, and some other stuff that is in Hamad's write-up. But it's funny, like the second you move like a structure of this size in here, I mean, look at how much of the footprint it eats up. So I started just, you know, kind of moving some stuff around so that we could see. Control D, here, here, and if you take it and rotation like 90, you can see how dense things get, you know, fairly quickly, which makes me curious about the size of these houses' interiors, right? And so what you guys are looking at, for the most part, when you're seeing me sort of zoom around, is a lot of negative space, because we really haven't started populating a lot of the buildings in yet. And so the second we start putting in some of these types of structures, and some of the other stuff in, then it'll get pretty dense and pretty interesting pretty quickly. And what I did earlier was I just took this little suite of buildings, not all of them even, I think it was just like the lower ones over here, and plopped them down, duped them and plopped them just to kind of see relative scale in here. Because it gets tricky, like if you take, well, hell, if we take this even, well, Shift D. And you guys that have been watching for a while, you realize how this works, right? Like when I'm screwing around on stream and kind of working through some of this stuff, it's not super quick, but then, you know, depending on what other non-art related stuff we're working on this week, like I need to put the newsletter together tomorrow and then get it out. Yeah, get it out by Thursday. So may not get as much done on the art side, but then like over the weekend, when you come back next Tuesday and you look, then you should see some progress on my end at least. And then the other guys are hammering away at stuff as well. But it's interesting just because you can get in and get a little bit of a look and kind of see how big things look in a distance, and gives you a better feel for scale. So like we're talking about this quarry over here, right? So if we go over here, we've got a point of interest like a quarry over here with some structures. then it should be a fairly noticeable landmark, though I'm assuming quarry goes down, right? So, but it's something we're just going to have to play with, because what we may also find is that we want, you know, we believe we want a certain amount of space, but then when we go and try to fill that space, like if we're saying that, excuse me, there's farmland over here or whatever, and there's these groves. We do these and this and this and do it again. And then some more and then dupe them again. Right? We may find that, you know, and again, these are all placeholder and be too, maybe too small or whatever. But we may find that even with like just dozens or hundreds of objects, it doesn't really convey the feel. And it just looks like barren and it just doesn't look good. And we'll play with that a little bit and see, okay, well, we bit off more than we needed here, right? So we'll look at it. Oops, let me zoom back out. Right, so as we start to... Right, so we may find that for as big as this area is, for what we're trying to do with it, we'll either sort of section this off thematically, and so that way we can do more of a concentration of the theme and have it really convey, or we can come in and edit the terrain, or build out the hills a bit more, or whatever. So there'll be a bit of back and forth going on as we're sculpting out the... using the term sculpting in a weird way, I guess, but as we're getting a feel for the environment. All those things are true about the Karanas as well, but oddly enough, as a noob exploring those zones was exciting. Yeah, so again, I'd rather shoot a bit big and then figure out whether or not, and so that goes back to that whole theme thing, right? Like, so if we go and we look at it, and don't worry, Justin, I saw your comment. I'll get to it in 1 second when I'm done babbling. But if we, again, this is just super. Whoops, I just terrain and everything. No thanks. Again, I did it. Keep doing it. Alright, screw it. It's just an example anyway, so. But, you know, if we have an area that's just kind of like more like this, where it feels like there's a bit of a grove here, or we can do some, you know, patches and stuff along the water and paint in the green so that we're not like trying to create a bunch of grass and shit. We can essentially give it like that little bit of like, this is what I liked about old school games, especially if you look at EQ. They didn't try to fill the space. They would do like a little, what I would consider like a symbol. Like this area is like a point of interest that would then have a little bit of a grove of trees and it'd be painted green and throw some rocks around. And it's like, okay. And then there'd be negative space. Like all this would be negative space again. And then there'd be this other thing. And then there'd be a little bit, right? So it's pretty, would be the right term. You can have a relatively sparse environment and still convey a theme, right? So simplistic, a lot of negative space, etc. Yeah, exactly. So we'll figure out what winds up working for us. I would say, I guess I picked that really early on. Interesting. All right. And then, you know, another thing that we may do is we may find that these all need to be like 0.3, you know, just a little bit bigger kind of. So not overly stylized like a WoW style, but then also big enough to, it's kind of like the trees in Greater Fate Arc or whatever, right? And so then, and then clustered a bit. And so it's a collection of clustered objects with the occasional sort of odd man out to make it feel a little bit more natural, right? And then boom, over here, another cluster, and maybe these guys here come over, and boom, and then maybe one of them is just like really big. It's like, why are you so big? And that kind of thing. Right, and so then we'll start to get into that a little bit, and the more we kind of do this, and you know what I mean? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You know, so, and even there, it could probably be broken up even more, right? So, and then pull these guys over here and do like a little, kind of like a dense patch, and these three here, they're going to move over this way a little bit, right? So then it's, all of a sudden, it's the same number of trees that we had when they were all in a row. But if we do that, and I mean, I think we could probably even do a little bit more distance between these guys, right? So, boom, 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 click. Lots of clicking going on. Like so. Right, so we get that distance. Then if we come here as well, and we look at, I ran a thing earlier. I'm hoping that thing did what it's supposed to do. But anyway, come here. Then we can also, you know, maybe do a little bit of shaping of the terrain around it to make it like a little bit build up, whereas this is more of a dip. And so just by, you know, I think just clustering some stuff and looking at some different scaling and, you know, looking at sort of where the placement is instead of trying to make groves or whatever, next thing you know, we'll have this nice like bit of, for the same number of assets, oops, for the same number of assets, we wind up with a lot more benefit. Hey, Scorpion. And then and this guy, do him as like a 3, you know, so. So, yeah, in theory, this is the same as that row. But provides, I think, a lot better value in terms of use of assets. I don't know. I could be full of shit. Seems to make sense to me. And yeah, and again, we'll be pushing like size. We'll be pushing size up a fair bit to kind of see like how big can we get things without them feeling overly stylized, and then we'll do some different scale variations and all sorts of other stuff. And if you take something like this and maybe you put a few of our grass things in here as well, make it a little blah, 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 and you know, good. All right. Anybody watching this is like, in the VOD later, is like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Please save. Quit said 100%. You're singing the most beautiful song ever sung right now. Oh, thank you. All right, Justin. Justin said, can I make a suggestion for the warrior? Please give us at least one point blank AoE to have some control on multiple mobs. Waiting until in-game on my guardian or warrior to have much AoE control is insane. We have, so Nick has set up an ability already that's on a longer cooldown. That's like a game changer. We want to have access, you know, throughout your character's lifespan to interesting little game changers that you can use strategically. And so certain abilities that are on longer cooldowns, kind of like LOH or Arm Touch or whatever. But he's got one right now on the fighter, our warrior, that I use, that I love, is basically, it is a PBAOE. Just grabs aggro from everybody for a quick minute. And it's really, it's fun. I like it. So I think we've already got you covered, actually. Because having those opportunities to like just really save the day or make a difference It's so much fun, and there's no reason for that to be something that, you know, we can't build in early and balance well. So yeah, move these out of the way a little bit just so we can kind of look. Yeah, so we're here, shoreline. It's not. I think that'll wind up being pretty good. Be pretty cool. It's just we've got to figure out. I still think. I was talking to Hamad about this earlier. I just think having this be a cliff face all the way down is. I think that'd be too much cliff, and it doesn't really. I'd really like to basically when we get in and start really doing this zone, I'd like to have this sort of, you know, at some point here start to make its way down. To the water line a bit, and then it can work its way back up. But I just think there's something about merging those, the sort of the river and this area a fair bit. That'll be nice, but we won't spend a lot of time on it today. So hit save again, and I'll go back over and go back to continuing to delete stuff before I guess I run the pathing. None of this stuff's needed. But I think this is all one. Yeah, so I can't really get rid of that. Or I don't know how to get rid of that, I guess I should say. How would you go about doing it? Would you just select the faces, Harrison? What's this? Water? Yeah, I guess in theory I can delete all this water over here. We also don't need that water volume. Is there another water volume? We need a volume for the river, though. So what I'll do is I'll take this. Oh, no worries. So you're thinking I should delete as much of this stuff as possible, right? While I'm in this zone. Things that we don't need, I guess. I don't think these are visible from over there, so I'll delete that as well. You would, but you would also remove the Night Harbor Geo from the geocache. Is that something I should do before I submit this, or is that something you can look at? Oh, no worries. I know it's your work day. What is this? Water volume. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll take this water volume, I'll move it over here. We'll rotate it 90 degrees, and we'll just use it again here. And maybe even make it bigger. Oops. Or maybe not. Scale? Yeah. And then we'll move this here. And we'll bring it up a little bit. Like so, for now. That should be good. And I guess slide it this way. Oops. Conflicting gizmos. Cool. This one, however, we don't need. And then we'll go into, what other stuff do we not need? Don't need that. We can just always copy it back in or something similar if we wind up needing an entrance like that or something. Probably don't need this guy, this guy, this guy, that guy. All sorts of stuff. These volumes are still here from when I made the crazy... I did this sort of Shreza temple where you could just get into a volume and swim up like this, like it's an elevator. Did that in the original sort of placeholder zone. And those volumes were still there from that. The Devil's Tube? Yeah. I used to get so scared of, like, I don't know, getting stuck or screwing up or drowning in there and getting made fun of by my guild. Every single time. I was always scared of screwing up something when I was with my guild or, you know, on a raid or whatever. Because the only like two people other than my coworker who's in the guild with me, only like 2 people in the guild knew that I was that I worked on EQ. And the rest of the guild was kind of like suspicious because they're like, everybody else played like 18 hours a day and I played whenever I wasn't at work. Or they'd start basically mobilizing for a raid and I'd still be at Sony at work. And so either I'd have somebody log me in and run me there, or I would log in and try to run to where I needed to be while everybody's getting set up. And then hop in the car and like head home, grab dinner on the way home. And my ex and I would like get there just in time to, all right, be where we needed to be. Were you not supposed to tell people or just didn't want to deal with the heat attention? A little bit of both. We really weren't supposed to be telling people, but at that point, well, when you're a GM, you weren't supposed to tell people, right? But GM and developer is a bit different. Once we were developers, we could tell people if we wanted to, but didn't want the pain in the ass, to be honest. The only reason why somebody wouldn't be playing EQ all day is because they're working on EQ. Yeah, it was interesting times. Well, I mean, with the crew that I played with, they were definitely dedicating an incredible amount of time to the game. And then they just knew that I was a very, very poorly equipped, underpowered, not very good at playing my class warrior. That was like, I was always like 5th or 7th in line in rotation. Like, trust me, if for some reason I had to tank something, we were probably already so screwed that we just needed to wipe and reset. I was essentially a rogue without backstab. I was the off tank's second off tank. I was a fairly useless member of the guild who, if anybody in the guild actually sat and looked at the roster, would be like, why is he here? And then our guild leader would be like, don't you dare ask questions. Were hot and ready's even a thing by then? I feel like those came out more recently than that. No, not that I know of. We ate a lot of noodles. I was reading David Brevik's Diablo 1 and 2, barricaded himself in his office and played EQ. Makes sense. Everybody was back then. it was so interesting to go to like a E3 while working on EQ and having that on our like our name badges. It was a very easy way to meet other game developers. Once a cleric was camped out, you could tank. Yeah. All right, so, and the thing that I was going to ask Pattis, I might just do it and ask forgiveness later. Let's see. Is this one of the old school? What is this? What do I have right now? Is this like an old school water tile from when I put the water in before? Because then right now we're using this crazy. Secret zone, probably. So secret, I am not aware of it. Did I accidentally delete the lighthouse? I'm pretty sure I did. Alright, well, we'll have to replace the lighthouse. That'll be a lesson in copying from another scene and pasting in. Cool. Alright, my goal, maybe not by Thursday, by next Tuesday, so this time next week, we will have all of those other placeholder zones in, and we'll be able to run to them. And so I'm gonna hit save here. We'll do the thing. We'll do the, you know, the thing. We'll do the thing that I need to do with regards to building pathing and stuff. Not right now, because I still don't think it's ready for it. But what we can do, for those of you that haven't been here in a while, is I'll actually run around in game. How's that sound? Stuff and things. So I started deleting stuff. Pattis is back. I started deleting stuff in preparation for running building pathing, but this is new. Have you guys seen that? Can you comment on any for sure racial traits we can look forward to? No, I cannot do that. I don't dare. Racial traits, ogres are writable by gnomes. That I can comment on. Ogres being writable by gnomes. When I logged in on this guy, he was a bat. So, hey, Adishi. Adishi. Damn it. Did I say that wrong? Adishi. Hello. Would be interesting to scale, see the scale of those guild buildings as well, or did you remove them all? So this is in Night Harbor. So the zone I was in was just a copy of this zone because it extends beyond this zone and I wanted to have the skyline. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fly and speed hack. Let's fly first. Ignore the broken animation when I do that. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do when he flies. And then SI speed gem. Eh? Why am I so slow still? I'm not starving. Well, something's weird. So that guild building, it looks massive footprint wise when I'm showing you in when I was just showing you, but you get in here, it's not like it's crazy big. Looks like I'm holding 1,000,000 copper, but I'm not. I was like, am I? I might be. I should go to the bank. All right, so then we've got our bank. This was the bank, no? Was it not the bank? Or no, is this the bank? That's the bathhouse. Sorry. I was like, something seems off. Bank. Bank here. Yes. I was like, why was I confused myself. I wonder if it's just this character. Let's try again. So anyways, this time next week, if you come back, what we'll do is we should have everything. We should have everything set up so that we can just like run all the way around the proof of concept zones and get a feel for that. All right. So I'm walking, but I may also be hungry and thirsty. We'll see. I don't remember how the hell I got up here, but... Oh, I came up here to look and see if this was a thing. Even the developers are lost. Trillion EQ, spiritual successor. Yeah. Well, I think that's just more of I'm always lost. Let me see. Nah, with Speed Gym, he's trucking. Is your MMO finished yet? Ice Creek. No, give us a couple more days. Just give us a couple more days. Ogre in the bathhouse. Sad ogre can't bathe. Ogre in the bank. That works. That's why ogres are so stinky, can't fit. Yeah, poor ogre. And then... Okay, a few more days, but not a day more. Deal. Deal. You come back next Tuesday and you check in. Damn it. I'm too big. I'm too big for everything. Yeah, and this is a move speed hack. Don't worry, folks. If you're just turning in, our run speed's not that crazy. This engine is Unity. Excuse me. Much to the chagrin of a few of our fellow team members, this is Unity. It's not Unreal. All right, so, and this is overlooking that area that. Oh, good point. We would have to. Does this guy have solos or is this normal run speed? James, it is. I'm using a cheat item, so this increases my run speed considerably. Summon some bread rolls. If they made it in my backpack, yes. Summon water flask. And eat real quick. All right. Pop Popsicle says, always love the idea that character size changes what places you can fit into. Yeah. Yeah, so do we. Being a shrink item unlocks a whole new zone. Yep. Interesting challenges with this POC melting pot town. Correct. And we're going to try to accentuate that a bit. So the interesting thing is, once we get a good idea for, you know, basically the zone that I've been working in this evening is out this way. So then we'll have to merge those together as well, similar to what we need to do with Shaded Dunes now over there. Now, for those of you that haven't been around in a while, zone Shaded Dunes. We'll do a quick tour for folks. Essentially, Shaded Dunes originally contained Night Harbor, and we'll see. I don't know why it's taking so long to zone. Something's happening. But anyway, do you have a target or min-max you're going for as far as square meters for a zone? No, we're playing it by ear right now just because so much of it's not. I don't think it's science, it's art on that one. So if you haven't been around in a while, last time some folks were here, you might have only seen all of our capsules. We had capsule beetles and bats and snakes and everything else. So we've been replacing that over the last few months. This is the original Night Harbor as part of Shaded Dunes. So the zone that we were just in is essentially the more production facing for real version of this zone that was all placeholder before. So I was talking to Pattis a little bit yesterday, I think, or maybe today, about, you know, getting some textures and other stuff on the new zone so that it retains some of this feel, so that we can get to a point where we feel comfortable basically just attaching this zone to the other zone, zone-wise, like zone line-wise, and then we can start to move the data over so that we have we've got NPCs in there and lights and things like that. So let's see, we'll zone. And if you haven't, let me see if I have the, like, basically, if you haven't seen it, well, actually it'll take quite a while at this point to show it off if I'm flying, so I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna work backwards on questions. Merch update yet? So we've been looking at the merch. And I'm gonna be honest with you, until we get things to a point where we're happy with the quality of it, we'll probably hold off on making the merch available. Just because I'd feel bad. Yeah, something's weird. Is it? Oh, because fly's still enabled. That's what it is. Watch this. Alright, I figured out the mystery. Cool. It's because I still had fly enabled, and fly kills move speed modifiers. Pattis. So we're looking at the merch, got the shop set up. Hey, Skeleton. Iterating on the merch, but I want to keep looking around and see if we can get better quality than your common sort of print on demand. And if it's just not feasible, then we'll probably go with the print on demand setup that we have. But yeah, so sorry. No no better updates than that when it comes to merch. Would love to get merch out to you guys, but I feel it's important that merch actually be good quality if you guys are going to spend money on it. I'd feel bad if you got kind of janky stuff, especially since the game is not even out yet. So I'd hate to feel like we're just selling you janky stuff with no this looks nice. I like this. Janky stuff with no game. I'd feel, I guess, slightly less bad if we sold you janky stuff, but there's a game already. And then for me, I think merch is so important to what we want to do. Like, we really want to have just a constant, ever-changing lineup of really cool shit for you to buy, and so want to ensure that it's just decent quality. So, gonna be modifying this to be probably twice as wide. So, oh, that's annoying. Oh. So we'll be looking at, that'll be one of the things on my list to do over the next few days. Oh my gosh. How long does it take to get level changes onto the server to test? Not very long once the environment's set up, and I'll run backwards. That seems to help. Once everything's set up, it's fairly quick. Like once the zone itself is set up and on the server, running backwards. That's funny that running backwards fixes that bug. Is the screen blacking out, is that because of my screwy geometry? I think it is. Alright, I'm trying to find a secret passageway real quick. I could have sworn it was this one that had it. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh my god, it's so hard to do like this. Was it this one? Was it the other one? What is that, floating island? I don't see a floating island. The terrain geo in there is causing that. Yeah, that's what I thought. See, anytime I try to look at this so-called supposed floating alleged island, I don't see anything. See? Must not exist. Yep, I can't even trick it. Redacted. I cannot confirm or deny the existence of a floating island above this zone. Nor can I confirm or deny the existence of a secret passage that I put in and I can't find. I can't even find my own secret passage. Okay, so we're just gonna cheat. Zone Deep Dunes, for those of you that haven't seen it. Watch, this zone will be so secret that it won't even load. Oh my gosh, crazy water, don't look at it. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, that was very old school Belfaster. That water looked like the description of the night sky on the first page of William Gibson's Neuromancer. Nicodemus, we were very fond of the mushrooms you posted as well. You hear some overlapping music? Let me mute that audio real quick. Have you seen this yet? Wait, not zone. Why is that still there? My brain is broken. That night sky description set the mood for the whole book. It's insane what a single sentence can do. Man, I loved that book when I first read it as a young man. I met William Gibson at a book signing. He is very grumpy. Not shocking though. Gibson's work is a big reason why I got into the video game industry in the first place. When I saw EQ for the first time, it was the most cyberpunk thing I'd ever seen. Look at these happy little beetles. Alright, so we showed Deep Dunes, we've showed what used to be called Death Valley, we've showed Shaded Dunes, Night Harbor, New Night Harbor, this old zone. I think most, if not all of this, is going to get replaced. But, you know, while we're here, you might as well look at it. So we'll eventually have a zone that's kind of a mountain pass. Crazy mountain pass area. Like this one, I originally just set it up to get a feel for how we can do some different types of geo and what, you know, what the camera felt like and what corridors feel like and all this stuff. Verticality was a big thing in here, is like playing around with the feel of verticality. And then seeing if we could get sort of some spaces up on ledges and... Oh, what's he doing back here? I've flown behind the geo, actually. Because I'm not supposed to be able to fly, so it's allowing me to get myself in trouble. Sorry about that. Now that I can fly, I'm actually a little confused. But yeah, essentially, you know, mountain pass type environment. Factions will be a thing. Factions are a big thing for us, so we want to do a lot with factions. So if you enjoy grinding faction, so one of the things that's on our list to prove out is also a concept we just called monster cities. And monster cities are essentially, you know, your ability to faction up with different what you'd consider like monstrous NPCs. So imagine like gnolls or for us, you know, potentially the Ashira or certain goblin clans or whatever. Yeah, so it's essentially taking like the Thurgoden, Kale, Sky Shrine, kind of the whole Velius, work your way up with a faction thing, and combining it with like, imagine when you went to Runny Eye, if you could build a faction with like the Runny Eye goblins, and then that allows you to speak with certain NPCs that may be quest givers, or they may have merchants or certain utility, like use a bank there or whatever. Right, so basically just leaning into that a lot more and figuring out how we want to do it. So the Ashira are the jackal people. They're jackal wares that I showed the concept for earlier. And so providing the opportunity to like faction up with them, and probably like a wild goblin clan, maybe the giants that live in what used to be called Death Valley but will now be called the Vale of Zentar. Was that a mushroom? Didn't realize you were ripping off spore. We have mushrooms. Nicodemus said Mike Pondsmith used to do Dragon Con back in the 90s. I wonder if he would get some flack from Gibson. Well, I know Gibson really didn't like Shadowrun. I don't know about Cyberpunk. So yeah, so this is I think I've shown you all the old stuff, but stuff that's been sort of touched in the last few months. Yeah, so the goal is to basically get that full loop so that we would be able to run from the new version of this area, so the new Night Harbor into Shaded Dunes. Shaded Dunes will probably be expanded a little bit as we do that. Over into either Fallen Pass, which was that vertical zone we were just in that needs to get redone, or up and into Vale of Zentar, which is a big zone that was just saying was called Death Valley. Allows you to go north all the way up and then cross either through Dragon's Run over to the zone beyond the zone that we were working in earlier. So the zone that's north of that is Glassfields. And then this whole area that we're kind of running a circle around right now, you know, verbally, in the hills in the middle here, will be another zone with a mountain and a dungeon. So, oh, go into Wormsbane. So, I'll need to turn off aggro though. What did I say? Glass flats? What did I say instead? I'm tired now. Ham, what did I say instead of glass flats? How many zones are you targeting when you include dungeons deep zones? Something like 1250. Glass fields? Yeah, sorry, glass flats. I'm tired, man. Like, my Red Bull is worn off. It's almost 11 p.m. and I'm old. Worms, Bane. That's not the actual zone name. The zone name is... Glassfields. What am I even thinking? Do I even know what this game is? Zones. Zones. Data. Wormsbane Tomb. Okay. That makes more sense. Well, the zone, the like technical zone file name, Wormsbane Tomb. Flee, save, quit. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night. Have a good day tomorrow. See you Thursday or Tuesday or whenever you're back next. Let me turn this off. Oh, I'm tall. I haven't been in here as an ogre, I don't think. So aggro off. Oh, I'm not logging out yet. I was saying goodnight to flee, save, quit. I will see them. I'll see them next week. You guys still have like 15-20 minutes with me. I have not been in here as a biggin, I don't think, or I don't remember being in. Oh, did you guys know that we have first-person camera now? I bet you didn't, because I didn't show it off the whole damn time. Sorry, Gary. It's going to be mentioned in the update, though. So, Big Dirty, thank you. I'm glad you guys are excited. I'm excited as well. We're all excited. Let's see. Oh, I was going to push some buttons. Get on our mailing list. Get on our mailing list. There's the link. We'll send an update. We'll send an update to it this week. We've got a lot of stuff to mention. Things that I'm forgetting about right now, like this first-person camera. First-person camera in the Gnome is wild because you're so low. Can early subscribers get night vision goggles? That'd be really expensive. How much is a pair of night vision goggles these days? Can you peek through walls with any of the races? With every race at the moment, I think. If I go back out to... It's not just gnomes. First person as a gnome in EQ always felt like a land speeder zooming around or something. Absolutely. It feels the same here as well. But yeah, the more confined, lower scale, more old school dungeon scaling is nice. That's why gnomes should be banned? You better watch yourself. Coming in here with that anti-gnome rhetoric. Need to update the environment art folder with some dungeon stuff you did? Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna be excited to see this bad boy all textured up. Do you want a roundhouse kick to the face when the dungeon's wearing those textures? No, I don't think so. Skeletons. Oh, jeez. Gotta figure out what I'm doing. I think it's just the mouse speed. Like, why do I keep twitching out? More skeletons. Oh, you haven't seen it, Ham? Wait until, if I can figure out where I'm at, wait until I show you the crazy wall that, here, let me turn the audio back on. So you can hear spooky music. I thought it was down here. Where's the crazy wall? The ossuary crazy wall. These are tombs. Corridor. This is up. Is it possible to block other players' pathing, or will you be able to run through each other? I believe we've got it set to where you can run through each other. And I don't know if we're gonna change that. Here we go. Harrison whipped this together. Yeah, I mean, the only... Wasn't it possible to use player collision to make like fatty walls and stuff for knockbacks in EQ? Oh, I like that doorway. Oh man, scratching my eyeball. Intentionally low FPS blue fire animation. Yeah. Our fires, this is what our fires look like. Blue or otherwise. We'll be playing around with that a little bit, but we definitely want to kind of keep it old school. So we got Dario over here. We got Gregan. Ham, were you reading some Game of Thrones when you came up with all these names? This is what I love about the lighting. You know, especially when, and again, the whole idea of like using simple shapes with more modern lighting, I think it just makes for some fun effects. Where is Walter Thundercock going to be? I don't remember a thundery cock in Game of Thrones. Dargoth, yeah. So we there's going to be a bit of that. There's going to be a bit of that. And then some of the districts will just be straight up combat zones. You may be able to faction up with some of the elements within there, but yeah. So we're looking at the space now, and we're gonna play with it and see if we can pull it off and have it feel good. So yeah. Ooh. Yeah, this dungeon. How long did you spend on this, Panis? Not more than like a couple sessions, like 2 days, right? Yeah, so for those of you, I mean, I'm optimistic that we can, once we get cranking, you know, some of this stuff we'll be able to move along pretty nicely. Let's see. Have you estimated how many players you want to dungeon support and from what level ranges? So this is a super newbie, dungeon. So we've got to work through pacing a little bit, and see if the idea holds up that we can keep people in lower levels and have it still feel okay. So we'll see. If that holds up, then it'd be nice for this to be like a level 2 or 3 to 5 or 6 dungeon. It'll be a little bit smaller, but I think once we get in and start to look at the camps a little bit more and get a feel for what we can actually support, because right now it's I think it's only like 4 or 5 camps, which you know, doesn't make it capable of supporting a ton of players, and so we may look at whether or not we want to expand that. So it's a bit on the small side at the moment. I think, and I didn't mean to miss it earlier, Belfaster, you had some questions with regards to optimal player count per zone as well, and how that relates to actual like square meters or scale. In the past, so it's going to be a little weird with the approach that we're taking here, just because we're going to have an unnatural player distribution. Hey Lotta. And so you know, in a complete world, you tend to see a bit better of a distribution, though there tends to be the more played races and areas. And so I've never seen anything hit optimal. There's always that when a server first comes up, everything that spawns dies because you got so many people packed into every zone. Back in the day, I could have sworn that it wasn't uncommon, like if we were to look at every spawn and sort of what's the respawn rate, etc. Wouldn't be uncommon to kind of have a zone that could support you know, 100, 150 players. But it's really just going to be something that we're going to have to play with and see whether or not the sort of initial idea of right now being able to support a few hundred players per zone is going to hold up. So, and then as we're moving forward with a more sort of true to form launch ready population for each zone, we'll see whether or not that even makes sense if we're looking at the various camps and roamers, etc. So we're just gonna have to go back and forth on it. It's weird because player count is such a uncontrollable variable, especially depending on how we're ramping this thing up, or player preferences when games come up or whatever, that anybody that sort of predicts a certain behavior up front and isn't going out of their way to like artificially constrain it is just it's theoretical until players start playing. Anybody that thinks otherwise, I think, is either really more experienced and smarter than me or just wrong. Hey Ishiwatari, what's the max group size? 6. Thank you, Nicodemus. So let me go back here. And then yeah, so we'll pop back out of this. We'll go back to here, Night Harbor Fields. We'll fix our lighting. So one question, and let me remind YouTube that I'm still here. Are you guys worried about group balance only having 3 healer classes at the moment? No. Any plans for more design-centric streams coming up? Like more of a deep dive into emerging class designs or combat systems? They're inevitable, but nothing on the books at the moment. We'll see if Nick's going to be streaming some more. And then as we're freeing up on other stuff or on certain nights in the not too distant future, we may get together to discuss some of that. Just as people aren't working on other stuff. So like based on Nick's availability, whether or not Ali is locked into programming work at the time and sort of what I'm doing. So healer, shaman, druid, cleric, paladin. Can rangers and bards heal? Do they have heals, or can they be an effective group healer? I guess would be the question. So based on the discussions that we've had to date, I think I can say that I wouldn't assume that they would be ideal as only healer in the group. But I think that's a discussion that we need to have more in terms of roles overlapping classes, and then honestly what we expect with certain less than ideal classes. One of the things that I've liked even just playing on P99 in recent months is even, I mean, I've been in groups where we had no healer and it was less than ideal, but I mean, we could still get a little bit done at the low end. Pattis, are you still there so I can ask you a question before I work on this stuff tomorrow? Yeah, Nicodemus. Ollie is currently, he's working like 2 jobs at the moment. And then getting stuff done as he's got a chance, but he's got like a special project that came up. So it's been eating up a little bit of his time. So the quick question I have, Harrison, is if I want to get rid of like this extra terrain over here, is it as simple as basically just going into like face select and grabbing these guys and deleting them? And then, you know, essentially when I want to clean up all this stuff over here, is that the way to do it? Cool. I can get that done. That should be pretty straightforward. Well, in theory, I could get that done. Or I may be selecting faces at one at a time. No, okay, cool. I know what I did. I switched Pro Builder to be Shift Subtract. And that's where I was fucking up. Cool. Delete. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Here. Here. And then... Right. Alright, so I'll get all this stuff cleaned up. I would actually like to hear you at some point interview the other guys on the team on the stream. They can give a peek into their creative contributions. Other streams Pettis and Zukin are doing are nice too. Yeah, that's a fair point. We've had a couple of those and we need to do it for everybody. And we should have more just sort of discussions in general, so yeah. Alright guys, it's 11 o'clock. Again, if you're new here, if you're not in our Discord, please get in our Discord. You can ask questions and Nick does a good job. Ollie, when he's got time. Everybody does a good job of answering in Discord when they can. Thursday night is a go. Don't forget that we've got a mailing list and we'll be sending out an update this week unless I fail in some manner. If you want to watch some of the other folks stream or just kind of look at some of the evolution of the project, check out our YouTube channel. And you can watch the other streams as well. There is a link for Nick and Pattis and Goblin and Zukin. Cool. All right. Now it's time to say goodnight. You guys jumped the gun like 15-20 minutes ago, so let's do it now. Good night, Lotta. Good night, everybody. You're welcome. Good night, Goblin. Good night, Hamad and Zukin and Pattis. Man, when that Red Bull kicked out, I am done. Keith G, thanks again. And good night. Good night, Nicodemus. I will see you on Thursday. Cool. Well, if there's nobody else, good night, everybody. I will see folks on Thursday, and then we'll have hopefully a lot more by next Tuesday. And don't forget, get on the mailing list. We should have an update out this week. See you then.